of separate but equal.
And I have to ask you, Jeffrey, how did we get to the Dobbs decision? I know you and I have talked about this before. Had Amy Coney Barrett not been rushed onto the Supreme Court, which flew in the face of what Mitch McConnell said when he blocked Merrick Garland back when Merrick Garland was being put forward by the Obama administration, had those events not taken place, we would not have this Dobbs decision yesterday. I mean, that is just a fair reading of events, correct? Or help me out here.
Totally. Well, yeah. and it's even broader than that. The credit or responsibility for the Dobbs decision, depending on how you view it, goes to Mitch McConnell as much as it goes to Donald Trump. He is the one that prevented Merrick Garland from replacing Antonin Scalia. He is the one who pushed through Brett Kavanaugh in spite of the sexual harassment allegation against him. He is the one who jammed through Amy Coney Barrett to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg in an extremely abbreviated process. Those are the three Trump justices. Two, if not all three of them, wouldn't be on the court but for Mitch McConnell. He is one of the absolutely central figures in the history of the modern Supreme Court.
And let's talk about this flashback when Senator Susan Collins, who was she said she was against overturning Roe versus Wade, defended voting for both Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, putting them on the Supreme Court. Here's what she said.
Neil Gorsuch, for whom you voted, don't you think he's probably going to vote to overturn Roe versus Wade if given the chance?
I actually don't.
Are you 100% certain, without a doubt, that Brett Kavanaugh will not overturn Roe v. Wade?
I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh will overturn Roe v. Wade.
Precedents are overturned all the time.
They aren't overturned all the time.
I mean, Jeffrey, you and I have also talked about this, how Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett all gave assurances. I mean, I know people want to dunk on Susan Collins, but these were nominees to the Supreme Court giving the country assurances that they were not going to overturn this precedent, and yet they did anyway. How do you think Susan Collins's statements, I guess, stand up now? But also, what about the fact that we have people who are putting themselves forward for a spot on the high court of this country who are essentially misleading the country about what their true intentions might be if Roe versus Wade were to come to their desk?
It's hard to know where to start. Susan Collins is nominally an independent Republican, but who does what Mitch McConnell wants when he really needs her. She voted against Amy Coney Barrett because Mitch McConnell didn't need her vote, but he really needed her vote on Brett Kavanaugh. So I don't know if Susan Collins was really believing Brett Kavanaugh or she was just giving herself a fig leaf to do Mitch McConnell's bidding, as she frequently does, in tight circumstances. I mean, and as for the justices themselves, they were playing a game to get on the Supreme Court. All three of them are lawyers. So if you parse their words carefully, the way lawyers know how to speak, they did not explicitly promise to uphold Roe versus Wade. They left the impression that they would uphold Roe versus Wade, which was enough for Susan Collins. So, this was, a game that they were playing. But, those of us who had studied the records of Brett Kavanaugh, of Amy Coney Barrett, of Neil Gorsuch, knew this day was coming. And Susan Collins had to know it too, because anyone with any sense, and she has plenty of sense, had to know this was coming. But it did. And here we are.
And Jeffrey, we have to mention that the president was asked about some of these issues, in particular, this idea of expanding the Supreme Court that some Democrats want him to entertain. He's throwing cold water on all of that. What do you think?
I guess I am enough of a traditionalist to think that's a pretty bad idea. I think most people don't know that the number of Supreme Court justices is not set in the Constitution. It is simply a law like any other that could be changed. And, up until just after the Civil War, the number of Supreme Court justices did change several times. But, if you start getting into a situation where the party that doesn't like Supreme Court decisions starts increasing the number of justices, that's an arms race that I think could not really end well for the court or the country. Franklin Roosevelt discovered that when he tried to increase the number of the justices after the New Deal. I think the Democrats who are frustrated by the Supreme Court need to do what Roosevelt did, which was win elections. And that's where the future of abortion is going to be decided. Presidential elections, senatorial elections, and now state elections about abortion rights.